Paladin. This is Math 155, Chapter 3, Section 4. This is Part 2. So again, we're going to be solving equations. This time, however, instead of having powers, we're going to have logs. So we're going in the reverse direction. So if I have a log base 4, how do I get rid of it? Well, I need a base 4. Oops, let me turn on my marker. So base 4 of log base 4. And what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. Cancel, cancel. So x plus 3 equals 16. We'll subtract 3, and x is 13. That works okay. 13 plus 3 is 16. That does actually work out to 2 if you figure it out. Okay, next one. Again, you need to follow the order of operations if there's multiple steps. So first would be add, subtract, which there isn't one. Second would be multiply, divide. So the natural log of 2x equals 4. Exponent radical. What cancels a natural log? Well, natural log is log base e, so we'll use a base e. But what you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other. Cancel, cancel. 2x equals e to the 4. Grouping symbol is last. Remember, any log or exponent are in parentheses, which is understood. So we'll divide by 2. So x equals e to the 4 over 2. That's what the value of x is. Okay, let's move it down a little bit. So remember, in solving, simplify may come before solving. In this case is no different. You have multiple logs. You don't want to have multiple logs typically on one side of the equation. You need to either move things or combine things. This is an example of combining. We can do that because they have the same base, base 2. If they didn't have base 2 in common, you could not do this. This is a product rule. So this is log base 2 of x times x minus 7, which in fact is x squared minus 7x. So now I can do a base 2 to both sides. And why did I choose base 2? Because that's what the log is. So those will now cancel, leaving me with x squared minus 7x equals 8. So I'll move the 8 over and get x squared minus 7x minus 8, which is a factoring problem, which is typically what you're going to have when you have multiple logs or multiple x's. So that's a 1 right there. So we'll factor using quad form factoring. 1x, 1x, 1 times negative 8 is negative 8, which of course is 1 times 8 or 2 times 4. One of these needs to be negative. I choose to make the 8 negative because negative 8 and positive 1 will multiply the negative 8 and add to negative 7. So x minus 8 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. So x is 8 or x is negative 1. Well, in fact, x has to be 8 because if you plug in the negative 1, you will get negative 8 here, negative 1 there, and you cannot log a negative number. Therefore, that is not possible. Always look for that when dealing with logs. Okay, next one. It's a subtraction. So that's a quotient rule. So that's the natural log of x plus 2 over 4x plus 3 and natural log of 1 over x. Well, what cancels natural log? That's log base e, so we'll use a base e. So e to the power of the natural log. I'll write really small here. Okay, so those will cancel, leave with us x plus 2 over 4x plus 3 equals 1 over x. So we'll cross multiply, and we'll get 4x plus 3, and cross multiply, we get x squared plus 2x. So we'll move those terms over to get our factoring problem. So in fact, we get x squared minus 2x minus 3. So that's a 1 right there. We'll do quad form factoring. 1x and 1x. Well, 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, which is 1 times 3. But one of these needs to be negative. So it's going to make sense to be the 3 to be negative because plus 1 and minus 3 multiplies negative 3 and adds to negative 2. So x plus 1 is 0 and x minus 3 is 0. So x is negative 1 or x is 3. Well, x is 3 seems to be fine if you plug it in. But if you plug in negative 1, that's going to give you a negative outcome, and you can't do a negative log, so that's not going to be possible. Okay, pause the video, try the student problems for yourself. All right, so we have a base 2 here, so I'm going to do a base 2. So this is 2 to the power of log base 2 of x minus 4 equals 2 to the third. Cancel, cancel. X minus 4 equals 8. So if I add 4, x equals 12, and that works out okay if you plug it back in. Okay, next one. Again, order of operations matters here. If there's multiple steps, add, subtract, there isn't one. Multiply, divide, there definitely is one. Exponents and radicals. So we have a exponent log there, so base e would be the correct one to cancel it. Cancel, cancel. So 3x equals e to the 2. Grouping symbol, divide by 3. X equals e squared over 3. It's not a very good e. We'll fix that up. All right, so we're half done. Let's move it down, get the last two. Each of these cases have multiple logs. We need to combine them somehow or cancel. We need to get down to one log in each side. So this is both common logs. That's the same. That'll work. It's an addition, so that's the product rule. So that's log of x times x minus 3 equals 1, or log of x squared minus 3x equals 1. So we'll do base 10. Since it's a common log, the default base is 10, which you do one side of the equation, do the other. So it cancels. You can put 10 in there if you want. So x squared minus 3x equals 10. So I'm going to move the 10 over. So we get x squared minus 3x minus 10 equals 0 for a factoring problem. So 1x in 1x. 1 times negative 10 is negative 10. So that's 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. One of these, however, has to be negative. Either the first one or the second one has to be negative. I choose the second one to be negative because I need to be negative 10 when I multiply. I need them to add up to negative 3. So x plus 2 is 0. X minus 5 is 0. So that means x is negative 2 and x is 5. Well, if you plug in the 5, that seems to work okay because you get 5 minus 3 is 2. But if you plug in the negative 2, you get negative 5. You can't do a negative log. Okay, next one is subtraction. Looks like it's going to be a quotient rule. So that's the natural log of x minus 3 equals the natural log of 7x minus 23 over x plus 1. You can do e to the power on each side because if it's natural log, it's log base e. So a base e, so it's e to the power of that stuff, will cancel it. Leave me with x minus 3 equals 7x minus 23 over x plus 1. You can put over 1 on that. Cross multiply. You get x squared minus 3x plus 1x minus 3 equals 7x minus 23. So we'll minus 7x and add 23. Okay, so x squared, let's see. That's minus 3 minus 7 is minus 10 plus 1 is minus 9. And then 23 minus 3 is 20. Okay, so we can factor that up now, get our answers. We'll go over in the corner. Factors, x and x. Well, 1x and 1x. That's a 1 right there. So that's 1 times 20 gives me 20. Factors of 20 are 1 times 20. 2 times 10, or 4 times 5. They need to both be positive or both be negative. Since I need a negative 9, double negative is what's going to do it for me. So I think negative 4, negative 5 is the right flavor. So basically, x minus 4 equals 0, so x is 4. Or x minus 5 is 0, x equals 5. And in fact, in this case, I believe if you plug them in, they both actually work. Yes. Yeah, you can check it for yourself. That is the end of part 2.